Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. As I'm sure you've seen from the title here and my tone straight away, this isn't a fun one to be bringing you. My name's Scott, and I'm joined by my friend here, Andy Spoors, here to join us on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel to talk about some horrible news. Again, you might have seen it already, but sadly, Bray Wyatt has passed away. Completely shocking news hitting us here. It's just gone midnight, and the news broke just a little while ago by Triple H, seemingly via Bray's father, of course, IRS, the legendary IRS. So yeah, please forgive me if I'm not quite obviously my chirpy self and not fully with it. Unfortunately, we don't know exactly what's happened at the moment. Of course, it's a very delicate time for his family and friends as well, so we want to be respectful of that. So if you come in here for the juicy goss, unfortunately, we're not the guys for it. So what we're going to do is kind of give our instant reaction to this terrible news, but also try and shed a light on kind of the performance that Bray was and what he meant to us as wrestling fans. And myself and Andy have only briefly spoken just before we went live, but I'm sure we both have similar thoughts and feelings about this situation, about Bray, the performer. So yeah, Andy, how are you feeling, mate? How did you find out?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. As you kind of said, it's probably a stream. Well, it's not a nice stream to have to come on to, but one that I'm hoping, like yourself and others who are watching might find cathartic in some way to talk about someone who was beloved by many people. And I guess like the way I found that was probably the way that most people in the UK might have found out is probably not long heading to bed. I was actually kind of like lying in bed doing some doom scrolling on YouTube. And when I saw, I think it was Fightful had gone live, and then I started seeing like a lot of notifications come through on Twitter, and then you knew something was kind of going on. So I hopped on Twitter and then saw a few messages start to come through as well, from people that are kind of like have an interest in wrestling. So I was like, okay, there must be something happening. And then Triple H's tweet, came through, which is, I guess, when that kind of one comes through, that it passes by like rumor, speculation, etc. When it comes straight from someone like Triple H, and that can't have been an easy tweet to have put out. And difficult to see, Bray Wyatt trending. We'd all hoped that, every Friday we were hoping that he'd be trending for a reason that he'd return to wrestling, but seeing it for this reason, I honestly just feel quite numb, very shocked. He was 36 and leaves behind 4 kids.
4 kids.
It's absolutely heartbreaking. And as you can see by that picture, just kind of below, doesn't feel too far out of the grief that's happened for Brody as well. So goodness knows how their friends and family are feeling, because when you come out of something like of losing Brody the way that we did as well, and then going into losing Bray, it's tough, and it's been a tough week as well. Rest in peace to Terry Funk as well, who just lost in the last few days as well. So yeah, very, very difficult time for everyone who likes wrestling. And it's one of those times where it doesn't really matter what kind of wrestling you follow. Bray Wyatt was such a big figure that he's kind of inescapable, and his presence is going to be deeply is a deep loss.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you hit the nail on the head on so many points there. I remember that he was a father, but I mean, hearing that he had 4 kids is kind of somehow made it 4 times worse, I just get to a few of these comments we've got coming in here as well. Thanks to everyone that's joined us. Hopefully here to pay respect to Bray as well. Oh God, Bray Wyatt has died, says Daniel Wiley. My heart goes out to his family. Rest in peace, Bray Wyatt. Of course, the sentiments of us here as well, and I'm sure many others watching live. Whether you're watching live on demand, we'd love to hear your comments of just your memories of Bray. I know it's kind of a somber tone and it's a difficult time, but I guess the best we can do is be together as wrestling fans and kind of support each other and somewhat support Bray's family by kind of putting it out there, just how much he meant to us as wrestling fans. Before we came on air, you know, we were talking about our friend Dom, of course, friend of the channel as well. Big fan of Bray, and to people like Dom, who have been on, you know, Bray specific podcasts the past few years and stuff like that. It is heart-wrenching. It's heart-wrenching to all of us, you know, and I'm not trying to compete for who's the bigger Bray fan, but what I mean is Bray's the kind of performer that's touched a lot of people in the past few years, and certainly one of my favorite characters in the modern era for sure. I know a lot of us were talking about his most recent return and how it kind of fizzled out and is a bit confusing. He went away, and of course, I don't want to speculate too much, but of course, health issues have been talked about for a while, and even there was that comment a while ago that there was a rumor that he could have perhaps died at some point. And I remember hearing that thinking, well, that's mad. Well, okay, he's cool now. And of course, we have no idea what's gone on here. So again, please don't be coming looking here for a scoop, because we don't have it, unfortunately. And at this time, it's all down to his loved ones to get that news out there, however they see fit. But essentially, it's been a strange year as a wrestling fan, and seeing Bray Wyatt in the background and wondering what's going on. But sadly, we've been hit with this news that is kind of, again, even with that comment that we heard a few months back, I never anticipated something like this. Andy mentioned a moment ago as well, Harper, again, as we can see in this little tribute just underneath the Triple H post itself, that is the most recent experience we've had of this, as Andy says, and that was, of course, an AEW active member of the roster at a strange time in the world, of course, when there weren't really many fans around at shows or anything like that. But to have an active member of the WWE roster just a few years after that in Bray Wyatt, in a teammate of his and a very close friend of his, is a surreal experience. You know, we've me and Andy are of an age where we were watching a lot of our heroes pass away, sadly, within the wrestling industry, and that's kind of thankfully, you know, tapered off in the past few years until, you know, some of these big prevalent ones. I'm talking to young guys here, especially, of course, like as Andy said, we sadly lost Terry Funk yesterday as well. So it has been a difficult time for wrestling fans anyway. I'm going to get to this statement from Triple H just to read it out, just in case you can't quite read it there yourselves. It says, just received a call from WWE Hall of Famer Mike Rotunda, who has informed us of the tragic news that our WWE family member for life, Windham Rotunda, also known as Bray Wyatt, unexpectedly passed away earlier today. Our thoughts are with his family, and we ask that everyone respect their privacy at this time. I mean, that's it. When it's coming from an account such as Triple H's, I know some people are going to be holding on to the possibility that Triple H has been hacked. But we've already seen the outpouring of reputable kind of sources and other wrestlers. I saw Damian Priest put it out there just a moment ago as well, his kind of shock at the situation. But a real tough one. Andy, top of your head, mate, give me a Bray Wyatt moment you're thankful for.
I put on my kind of personal Facebook back in WrestleMania 33 in Orlando. It was my first time going to a WWE media event for WrestleMania, and I remember sitting there so nervous, and you know, anyone who's kind of been to them, and if they do remember the first time, and you kind of like, right, I don't want to kind of do anything that was silly or anything like that. And I remember there was a moment where all the superstars, all the wrestlers came in, and you just kind of like felt this like sixth sense, almost like your hairs stood up when Bray entered the room. Big guy, just had this presence, and like, you know, WWE call their talent superstars, and it's sometimes we do band it around too easily, but you just got that presence that this guy is something different. This guy is like, he carries himself, he's got that aura, and it's like, even to this day when people ask me about doing the media stuff and like what it's like to meet people, I didn't get to interview him that day. He was actually doing like radio interviews, just like seeing him like talk to people and how he worked, and even like how he like worked the room and walked and talked and stuff. And you're like, this guy is special, he gets it. And you can kind of tell he was from that family. It was really cool to kind of just experience like seeing him kind of up close and personal and doing his thing. And then, you know, seeing the match, and in some respects, I think that match against Randy Orton is kind of much maligned because of that was the match where they had the projections on the ring and they kind of had, like, was it like worms or whatever on, and it was quite a short match, but that whole storyline that they had going in, I thought was great. Burning down the kind of shack house thing it was, and then kind of burning Abigail or Sister Abigail, etc. I enjoyed all that stuff. So yeah, there's not a lot of stuff that he did that I didn't like. I really liked the cult leader stuff that he did, probably more than anything. But I also remember coming back. I'm trying to remember exactly what the event was. I was in a hotel room and we were watching some of the vignettes that they did for Firefly Funhouse, and just thinking, this is some of the most original stuff I've seen in ages in wrestling. When he was doing his proper like kids TV presenter, and like just seeing that, and then seeing that slow change into what eventually became the Fiend. That's the stuff where, like, when I'm talking to my kids about wrestling, and when hopefully they watch it in the future, where I'm like, this was the stuff that I used to absolutely love, and I'll like show them it and be like, it was really creepy at the time. We didn't know what to expect, and I think that's what's amazing about Bray Wyatt is he always tries something completely different. Generally, would say, hand on heart, I think he's one of the most, if not the most creative person or creative mind we've seen in wrestling, and absolutely devastated that we won't see him kind of get to do whatever he was going to do in the future. Like we recently saw, like, even as early as like a year and a half ago, all the kind of White Rabbit stuff. Amazing,
unbelievable.
Again, so many moments. What about you, mate? What off the top of your head would you say?
I mean, you touched on it there, and I don't want to be cheesy, but I honestly got chills when you reminded me of the White Rabbit stuff. Of course, it kind of fizzled out, and we never know what it was actually going to be. But so sad saying that, but that stuff, I was just so excited. That return at Extreme Rules, I think it was unbelievable. It is why I'm a wrestling fan. Moments like that, and Bray gave us many. And you talk about that feud of Randy was great. I know a lot of people will talk about the kind of, it's become a bit of a gif that gets thrown around all over the place now of when he pointed at Roman, did the spear, and then you go back to the early days of the Wyatt family and NXT and the breaking into the main roster. Watch some of that stuff again a few months ago. When you get randomly in a mood for a certain kind of era of wrestling or a certain wrestler, and you just start watching highlights. And I was watching like entrances and the Firefly, and the old theme song, and when they performed it live and stuff like that, and I was just thinking, this guy's incredible. I know, again, some of these storylines didn't seem to kind of pan out in ways that we hoped, and they seem to fizzle out at times. But there was no doubt in the creative kind of genius behind it. And I mean, even the Fiend was incredible. Like, one of the most marketable things in WWE's modern history. Just such an enjoyable time. I think, again, as much as all of these characters, there's always this asterisk of, well, it could have been more. I think ultimately we come away with, but it was flipping good what we saw. Do you know what I mean? Like, Bray as the swamp cult leader was incredible. Bray as the kind of muscle fitness man, and that stuff with John Cena, and as you say, the Firefly Funhouse stuff as well was just so fun. A few more comments here as well. Sludge Sports has joined us live as well. I know what you mean, Sludge. It is unbelievable news that we're talking about right here. I feel like I'm going crazy. Me too. Again, to anyone that's joined us, whether it's been our returning guests, of course, we appreciate Daniel and Sludge coming back all the time, and anyone that's joined us live maybe for the first time. Of course, it's a somber stream here. I haven't got my regular mic and set up, and me and Andy, as we said, I was the same as you, mate. I was literally on my way to bed, started doing that nighttime scrolling. And often, I mean, this happens to me often, man. I think it is someone growing up in the era we did for wrestling that, I know it sounds kind of morbid, but a lot of times I do check Twitter just in case something like this has happened. It sounds crazy to say, I know, but I've kind of been in that habit since the old days of checking WWE.com and finding out something about Eddie Guerrero sort of thing. And I always do it. And it's not just about wrestling, some celebrity, what if something big's happened before I go to sleep? And Yeah, and I literally did that. I was getting in bed. I went on Twitter and I just could not believe what I was seeing. And it'd only been posted by Triple H at that point, I think about 10 minutes earlier. And then straight away my phone went off and it was you saying, pretty much can't believe it as well. And it is unbelievable. Daniel asked, do we know how he died? Daniel, we don't at the moment, mate. It's something that I think is going to be kind of held back for a little bit, judging by Triple H's tweet as well. We got DKW here, which I assume is Lucas joining us in the chat as well. Thanks for joining us, mate. This is a shock for sure. Lucas, if you can, mate, let us know. We're trying to, of course, honor the man here and talk about our favorite moments. So it'd be great if you could let us know that as well. And everyone else in the comments, guys, let us know your favorite moments of Bray Wyatt. I know a big part of what you want to say in the chat is going to be how shocked you are and your well wishes, and we encourage that as well for sure. But we'd love to hear your thoughts on Bray, the performer, Windham, I should say, the person. Just such an exciting performer, and it's just so sad. I mean, we could go around in circles here, Andy, but I'm looking at the bottom of the screen. I see 36. I'm not far off that, and it's a terrifying and saddening thought, and as you said earlier, a father as well. It's tough. I feel like I'm rambling, mate.
No, well, it's one of those things, and I think people nowadays, we talk about it a bit in terms of like grief and then the kind of stages of grief, and everyone's going to be going through that first stage of shock right now. There's no other way kind of around it, and there's kind of different stages to go through, and what I would just say is, obviously, if you are kind of like feeling affected by it, then speak to people. It might sound trivial when someone that you might not have even met before, but if it's someone important to you, then just make sure you tell someone about it and how you're feeling and stuff. As you say, it's always really important to hear what your favorite memories are and things like that. So just keep your comments coming and let us know how you're feeling, and obviously in your favorite memories, because at the end of the day, he was 36, but the legacy he leaves behind is huge.
Sure.
He's not going to be forgotten. I was just thinking, one of the match at WrestleMania, was it 37 that was behind closed doors, or 36?
36. I think it was 36.
New York, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The Firefly Funhouse match against Cena.
It had no right to be that good.
No. And the thing is, I remember the night before watching the Boneyard match, going like, this is pretty cool. Like they've absolutely like smashed this out of the park. It was a bit cheesy or whatever. And then along came this Firefly Funhouse match with Cena, and it was so meta and so like just the giving us the image of John Cena in an NWO shirt, and kind of like, and seeing the career of John Cena but through like a different lens, and all those kind of different pieces put together. And then you find out afterwards that literally the only people who were involved in putting that together were John Cena and, of course, Bray Wyatt as well. So, like, he's got a body of work that will live on forever. And people, and I know there's going to be people, because I unfortunately, I know there is good sides to the wrestling community, which you'll see the outpouring of love right now. But there's also that side where people will be driven crazy because they'll want to know what the ending was going to be for this current run that he was doing. And in some respects, it's a shame that the last kind of like memory is that match against LA Knight. Again, much maligned, but when you look at any kind of creative genius, it's not always home runs. You've got to try different things. And the main thing for Bray Wyatt is he was always happy to try new things. I think history might be a bit kinder to that match moving forward. I think it had already started to turn in that, because people have a love for LA Knight and people have a love for Bray Wyatt, and they're kind of willing to
missed him. It'd been a while since we'd seen him.
And to be honest, when you were saying about it before, when you kind of check your phone and you kind of look on Twitter as to what's trending, my first thought when I saw Bray Wyatt was, I wonder if he's been spotted in the like city that SmackDown's in tomorrow or something, or it's been confirmed that Bray Wyatt's going to return, and you click on it and you're like, just not expecting that, not at all.
No, you're right. I mean, something I'm glad about is I could at least chuckle there talking about that match with Cena, because you think this is WrestleMania. They did that on that stage. I know a lot of people still like weirded out about the what's canon and all this kind of stuff with the
Mm.
pandemic era stuff. That was what did we call it at the time? I can't remember what cinematic. There we go, cinematic
Yeah.
matches. But that was unbelievable. I mean, creatively speaking, it was so fun to watch. A few kind of comments here to touch on though as well. Lucas says, I think for me it's the initial Wyatt family on the NXT up to the main roster. Such a quality faction, and yeah. Mentioned that earlier on as well, Lucas. I think you're right, mate. I think that was my personal. I mean, I love the Fiend. I was excited to see what was happening here with Bray as well. But that kind of cult leader Bray was just. I remember hearing the rumors that he had tried out a new character, because you've got to remember Husky Harris in NXT and the Nexus as well. This guy's been around for a while. He's done a lot, as you said. But yeah, remembering he is trying out his new character, and I was like, okay, I'm looking forward to seeing that. And mate, as soon as I saw it, I was hooked. And then as soon as they called him up to the main roster, Harper and Rowan as well, who were incredible by his side. Of course, later on they added Braun to it, and then of course you think about his connection again, as you said earlier on, to Randy. But then he had a great kind of team with Matt Hardy for a bit. Alexa Bliss, of course, I think had an incredible, one of the best runs of her career. Again, something that fizzled out creatively, but one of the best runs of her career, and merch wise in the modern era again, was linked to Bray Wyatt there as well. Daniel Wiley says, I loved it when Bray Wyatt was with Undertaker to take down LA Knight. And also House of Horrors is one of my favorite matches. Genuinely love that match. I know in the minority. Is that the one you were talking about earlier on, the one that links to Randy Orton, or is?
Yeah, that was the one, because it was the House of Horrors one where they had a match, and you kind of had all the dolls hanging from the ceiling, and I think
What was the
they had
one
to
with?
drive back to the arena or something as well.
What was the one with Braun as well?
That was a
Extreme Rules.
swamp match,
I
wasn't it?
like that. I remember liking that as well. And again, this is when we first. If you're new here, I don't want to plug us too much, but we're the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. Our guest over here is Andy Spoors. Check out his stuff when you get some time as well. But basically, when we did it on the main channel before we split up Rebellious Noise into different channels, this was the area we first started deep diving into monthly pay-per-view reviews. And I remember going into that and just being so excited by being entertained, man, at a difficult time, when the world was going through this hard time. Bray was there and the rest of the superstars there to kind of help us along. Even his world stuff and Matt Hardy, Lucas says, and the whole words in hand stuff. Oh yeah, remember the little kid singing to distract Cena at the cage? He's one of the last villains to properly seem like a threat to Super Cena too. Yeah, exactly that.
Oh man, if you want to kind of go like, and I imagine some people are going to do it, is go back and watch some of his work. That match he had against Cena, where even if you watch the promo for that match, not the one from WrestleMania 36, I think it was it WrestleMania 30 they had their match. Their original.
Which one? Sorry,
I think it was Cena versus Bray. I think it might have been WrestleMania 30 where they had the match, but the whole thing was about like the being a monster against like Cena's kind of like, he was like kind of trying to bring down Cena and bring him down to his level sort of thing, and that was what led into that one of 36 to say like, that was the moment it all changed for Bray, and like, it snapped inside of him, and it was kind of pointed out that the Fiend wouldn't have been around if it wasn't for Cena, because he kind of unlocked that in his head. So really cool stuff. But yeah, go back and watch that promo before the kind of pre-match promo, because it is absolutely fantastic. Down to even the soundtrack that they use is great.
Lucas wasn't quite as much of a fan as a Swamp Fight as I was. I'm going to go back and watch that review, Lucas. I feel like we were all into it. Maybe you were being polite at the time, or maybe I'm just looking back and rose-tinted glasses. I'll probably watch the review and I'm crapping all over it. But I'm emotional at the moment. So anything I think you put in front of you, Bray-wise, I'm going to say it was amazing at this time. But generally speaking, I think he was an incredible performer. But also kind of like Pandemic WWE probably needs its own series, as it was crazy times. Exactly that, man. It was an exciting time for us to get into. Me and Lucas met during that time through the channel as well. So hey, mate, ain't it good when you can make friends over wrestling? But Yeah, again, if you're just joining us, and if we're the ones to be breaking the sad news to you, I apologize. But yeah, sadly, Bray Wyatt has passed away, age 36. We got the news via Triple H, who actually got it from Bray's father. I'm just going to kind of put this up on the screen here just so we can have a look at the tweet itself. And just to go through it once more, we can see just received a call. Let's zoom in just so we can see a little bit better here as well. We just received a call from WWE Hall of Famer Mike Rotunda, who informed us of the tragic news that our WWE family member for life, Windham Rotunda, also known as Bray Wyatt, unexpectedly passed away earlier today. Our thoughts are with his family, and we ask that everyone respect their privacy at this time. And just to reiterate, guys, we don't actually know the cause of death at the moment. And this is something, of course, we're going to leave down to the family and friends whenever it does come out. We're not here to spread rumors or anything like that. But a sad piece of news, essentially. We touched on it earlier on as well. The kind of most recent example of something like this of an active wrestler at this level, of course, would be his buddy in Harper, as we mentioned earlier on. And I'm still not over that, mate. I mean, every time I see a picture of Harper or Brody Lee, it still really gets to me. It's a difficult one to deal with, and I think this is one that we're going to live with, unfortunately, for a long time with this pain. Speaking of which, I saw Alistair, good friend, of course, of the channel as well, been on it before, and we'll know him from doing his work with the Metro. He tweeted out, as one of the first things I saw was comparing it to how he felt when Eddie Guerrero died, and how this is just going to be, again, a really, really tough one to get through. Luke says, I think it will be the last sort of gimmick of its kind as well, sadly. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people talked about him being a successor of The Undertaker. And Daniel Wiley mentioned earlier on that kind of back and forth they did with LA Knight on the Raw 30, wasn't it? And of course, that moment between Bray and Undertaker, and there was always this kind of like almost Carney-esque of, that was between us, we won't tell you what we said. But I don't think we're ever going to find out now. I think Undertaker's going to kind of keep that to himself. I did think there would be a chance we'd find out at some point. But yeah, does Mike still work there? He was a producer for a while. Mike, as in his dad? I don't think so. I don't think he is. First active death main roster member since Benoit and Eddie before that. Yeah, again, we were saying earlier, we're of that age where you go to WWE.com and we're finding out a lot of these things, either people still within the industry, the game of, well, the WWE or the game itself as far as the industry. You know, guys like Test, you know, I remember, you know, being quite young at the time as well, but it's unbelievable news, unbelievably sad news as well. But again, everyone that's watching live or demand, we really do appreciate it. Get your comments in. Me and Andy just kind of had a little chat off air and both pretty much agreed, like, can't get to sleep now, guys. It is nearly 1 a.m. here in the UK. And again, forgive us if you've been here before and seen us cheery and chirpy, but I'm sure you understand it's a different kind of scenario here. And you have joined us for the first time. It's a shame you've had to join us in such a tough stream. But it's nice to be able to come together as wrestling fans and again, appreciate the life and career of Bray Wyatt. Any other comments, mate, before we kind of start wrapping up here?
Yeah, I mean, your thoughts go out to his family, and even to, you know, some of the. It's difficult to kind of phrase things because you don't have that long to kind of think about it. But like Bo Dallas, his brother, who he was back working with, was never confirmed, obviously in kind of canon, but you know, it's kind of I guess, an inside wink that Bo Dallas was working with his brother again as Uncle Howdy and people like Alexa Bliss. There's so many people that Bray's worked with, against and with, that are going to be deeply affected by this. So I know people will be desperate to kind of understand and process what's actually happened to him, but there's a lot of people that this will deeply affect. So it's very important that those people get their time to grieve and you know, I know there's curiosity. We know he's been out with an illness, an unspecified illness, for a long time. We haven't seen him on TV since February. You know, you can only hope that the kind of family had their chance to kind of like process it before it's happened. But it definitely sounds like it was a sudden thing. As in Triple H's tweet said, it was unexpected. So just absolutely devastated. We'll never get to kind of see him back on the TV screens. And I'll certainly be tuning into SmackDown to see how they honour his legacy tomorrow. I'm sure it'll be a very different show to what was originally planned. And again, you're going to have 80,000 odd people going to Wembley on Sunday for AEW, and I think the mood might be slightly different to what it originally was going to be. And although he never worked for AEW, again, because of the way that the wrestling community is, I'm sure they'll come together, and hopefully there's a chance to honour someone that we deeply missed as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you touched on some great points there. Like you say, wrestling fans going to come together in this incredible event in a few days, but a lot of people will be working for the company, and I feel like that's the kind of place these days we do see a lot of times where they do kind of, never worked here, but full respect, and we're giving you a graphic as well. And it'd be nice to see the outpouring of love in the next few days from superstars alike and colleagues outside of the WWE. Quickly get to a few more comments here from Lucas saying, I think Bray's legacy will be in shaking up the stale WWE main event scene in the 2010s with his creativity, for better or for worse. We've been doing a few watch-alongs lately, actually, on the channel, myself and Rob, and we've been talking about that period where the Shield guys and the Wyatt family break in, and they are such a breath of fresh air. Daniel Bryan as well, and it's an incredible period to look back on this, as Lucas says, kind of shaking up that main event scene, and it's unbelievable. Johnny says, I know this is real, but it doesn't feel real to me. Me too, mate. I completely understand where you're coming from there. It is a strange space to be in. Again, it was only about 2 years ago now we had a similar thing with Brody Lee, and this one's kind of hit me just as hard. Lucas says a tribute show. Yeah, I mean, I'd be up for that. They are kind of just like a funeral is. They are somewhat, I mean, they're very painful to be a part of and to watch and to experience. But I know a lot of people, myself included, like to use those things as part of the healing process and kind of getting it out there. And the thought of seeing some of these superstars, especially, young guys, his peers, it was weird seeing when we were young, I think, because we were looking up to these people that felt a lot older than us. But now that we are of a similar age, seeing these people cry that their friend has passed away is something I think it will be a challenge for me to watch. But if it's, something that the superstars want to do, then I'm all for it as well. Speaking of the superstars as well, just before we get out of here as well, we got a tweet here from Big E that says, man, the first dude that took me under his wing when I got signed in 2009. We spent so much of our adult lives together, praying for JoJo, praying for his kids. I will miss your laugh and your boyish charm, my friend. Goodbye, Windham. And when you start seeing these tributes like this, it really does hit home what's happened. I remember, of course, Big E very much affected, of course, by the loss of Bray's partner, as we mentioned earlier on, of course, very close to Brody Lee as well. What are your thoughts, mate, as far as a tribute show? Do you think is likely? Is it something you'd like to see?
Yeah, I think similar to what we've seen for like Eddie, I think they'll open the show with a 10-bell salute. They might have already had that planned for Terry Funk, but it's a really awkward and horrible situation to be in now, because both men absolutely deserve their flowers and absolutely deserve some sort of tribute. How they honour them on the same night is a horrible conundrum, really, because
that's a good point.
Yeah. They'd probably already started to think, we'll open the show with the way that WWE do sometimes, where it's in love and tribute of, and then put a picture. But the body of work for Terry Funk, the decades. I think I heard saw the video that they put out on Twitter, and he was wrestling for 5 decades, Terry Funk. And in that circumstance, Terry Funk was 79 and he passed away. He led an amazing life all around the world, and in so many generations of wrestling fans' memories as well. 36 is absolutely no age, and it's one of those ones where, like, if they can find a way to balance it and present them both, with ample time for people to kind of like see the life and career. I don't think there's any other company that could do it other than WWE, because the packages they put together are just absolutely sensational. We saw it even with something like Edge last week, when he was kind of going through his 20-odd year career. The package they put out for him was fantastic. So the company will put something together. It's just a case of like, how can they do it tastefully and
balance and
and make sure they kind of like and get the essence. But I'm sure they'll do something. I have a feeling they'll honour both of them, and there'll definitely be a 10-bell salute, which we don't get too often at the statistic off the proceedings. I wouldn't even be surprised if they're pulling together some sort of interviews to kind of punctuate the show. I'm sure there'll be segments that were planned that are now scrapped, and rightly so, because at the very least, both men and especially Bray deserve a SmackDown in their honor. But then again, is like, how do you honor someone that creative? I'm sure they'll find some way of doing it, but this is the time where the wrestling community will come together, and I'm sure WWE are fully aware that's the expectation that they have on them at the moment.
Yeah, I think you make a few great points there, mate, about finding that balance on a potential kind of tribute show, however that looks, because I think, like you say, before this news of Bray, I would have expected at least a graphic and maybe a video package. Of course, the one you're referring to already has already been shared online, but maybe we'd see that on SmackDown later on in the show. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they open one graphic and it fades, and then they do the other graphic and it fades, and then they come into the 10-bell, and it's mainly for Bray because he's an active roster member. But again, there's a lot of people hurting backstage that were, very close to Terry Funk over the years as well. You talk about guys. I saw a tweet earlier on from Kevin Owens about talking about how privileged he felt to work with Funk in his early years as well. I'm going to quickly get to a few more tweets here, Andy. Forgive me if I'm holding on to you. Of course, this wasn't planned or anything like that, so if you have to shoot, feel free to do so. Just going to bring up a little tweet here from Alexa Bliss. Says, just in shock. Really at loss for words at the moment, like all of us. But again, you can only imagine what it's like for those that work so close to him. And again, look, that side of that storyline didn't kind of have the conclusive finish I think a lot of us were looking for. But again, we look back at it and you go, man, there was some really good stuff.
Yeah, I mean that visual image, I thought, if nothing else, of Alexa sat on top of the kind of throne thing and the black
the liquid sort of,
down her face. Amazing. And that whole entrance as well for that match where he turned from the Burn Fiend into the kind of normal Fiend, as it were, was cool as well. So even when there was misses, there was still stuff in there to really enjoy. And as you say, you can only imagine what people like Alexa and Eric Rowan as well, and Braun Strowman, those guys are going through it again. So awful.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. I gotta be honest. Don't want to do a downer, but I gotta be honest. That thing where they set the dummy on fire, that really annoyed me at the time. It was so poorly executed. But hey, whether or not that was Bray's idea, I don't know. But hey, I gotta be real. But everything else Fiend related, I loved. Oh, except for that red light, that was annoying as well. But there was so much about the Fiend that I loved, and so much about Windham and the kind of characters he created. And it's painful to put this one up, mate. Look, I mean, this is WWE's graphic they've made so far. Official statement: WWE saddened to learn that Windham Rotunda, also known as Bray Wyatt, passed away on Thursday, August 24th at age 36. WWE extended its condolences to the Rotunda family, friends, and fans. And you mentioned it a moment ago when you were talking about, the possibility of a tribute, what it's going to look like and stuff like that. And I started to get choked up, man. I'm not ready to watch a promo package like that. Again, sometimes it's, I'll be honest, my legs are feeling a bit weak thinking about it. Sometimes, again, you use this sort of stuff for healing, and when you feel ready, you watch it and you want to get out. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know the guy, but these performers mean a lot to us, as fans of wrestling and people that work within the industry, like we do. Privileged enough to like, as to say, be in the same room as these guys sometimes. and meet a lot of them and get to spend time with them and chat to them and interview them and stuff like that, it does hit you that little bit more. But just even as a fan, the Guerrero one hurt, can tear up to this very day if I watched that. Johnny Cash's Hurt, that song and stuff like that. And you mentioned earlier on promo package, and I think, these people that have done such a great job over the years of bringing Bray's creativity to the forefront, they are going to be so at a difficult time with a lot of pressure, but I'm sure they're going to be so honored to try and do their best ever work within this short time frame that they have for SmackDown to put an incredible package together. And then again, they always do. They always knock it out of the park. But one like this, it's not like someone older in their years, maybe like Funk, where he's not been in ill health for a while, and they thought, as a lot of these newspapers and like TV news channels do, they get a little kind of thing just in case for a lot of these people that are older up in age. But for someone that's 36 years old and still pretty much in the prime of the career, I mean, I think if he hadn't gone away a few months ago at this moment in time, there is no reason why he couldn't be in Seth Rollins' position right now. This is the man who was, he was WWE champion before, Universal champion as well. But this is a man who's still, if you said to me he'll be around for another X amount of years winning top titles, I would have believed you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the other things in terms of any kind of tribute, and I think WWE need to maybe look at it for the future, is it is on WrestleMania weekend when they're doing the Hall of Fame. They need to make more of an effort with the in memoriam side of things at the Hall of Fame, because I think that's a perfect time to honor people. There'll probably be a lot of people shouting for Bray to enter posthumously into the Hall of Fame. I absolutely back those calls. I'm not sure when they would kind of do that, and they kind of seem to work on their own schedule. But certainly, like, that to me is the right time to honor the whole kind of year, because we're a week. It's been a we've lost Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt, and then you go back a few months, and yes, I don't think he ever wrestled in any kind of WWE promotion, but sorry, is it Jay Briscoe, wasn't it?
Oh, Jay Briscoe, yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah, earlier this year
as well. So it's another one who was obviously part of an active roster as well. So it's just one of those, like, and maybe something to think about. But yeah, immediately I am wanting to morbidly kind of see, I guess, what WWE do for him and how much they can honor him. So I think they'll have a lot of eyes on tomorrow, and hopefully they do manage to do it in a tasteful way, which I'm sure they will.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I'm same as you, kind of looking forward to seeing what they put together, because I think the man and the performer definitely deserves it. Graham's joined us here. Thank you very much for joining us, mate. I know it's a tough one to jump in on, but you're saying absolutely stunned. This one hurts, and I think you can hear it in our voices. It's the same for us. Would love to hear the thoughts of anyone that's joining us live on demand, guys. Whether you're a subscriber here already, or if you're joining us for the first time on this very difficult stream to do. We'd love to hear your thoughts on not only the situation, I'm sure you're sad, but also on Bray Wyatt, the performer. We've heard some great stories tonight of some people in the comments and the things that they appreciate about Bray's career. Just going to quickly throw it over to another peer as well, this time Titus O'Neill, who says in kind of reaction to Triple H's original tweet, heartbroken is an understatement to my feelings at the moment about this news. Windham was the consummate professional, the ultimate teammate, and a wonderful father, husband, brother, friend, and son. Always brought smiles. Me and my family send our condolences and support. And that kind of touches on one of the elements that you did just a moment ago as well, Andy, with Bo Dallas. I was a big fan of Bo Dallas in NXT, and I was so excited when we started hearing the rumors of him coming back and being the one under the Uncle Howdy mask. And as you said earlier on, it was never quite acknowledged. It was a bit of a kind of secret, but not quite a secret, that I felt that everybody pretty much felt like they knew it was Bo, and I think it was Bo. And that makes me wonder, what do we do here? Does Bo continue that? Does he come out as himself on some sort of tribute. It's a strange one. It reminds me almost of Kerwin White, a difficult gimmick at a time when Chavo Guerrero wanted to just honor Eddie, and they're awkwardly sitting there in his blonde hair. Not saying that Bo has to come out with a mask or anything like that, but and look, storyline is second nature. I mean, it's why we love Bray in the first place. Don't get me wrong. Why we love wrestling. But when it comes to real life, it doesn't matter. We can break storyline. But it's just strange thinking about what happens here with Bo. I mean, how must he be thinking and feeling? Is this the kind of thing that makes you think I don't want to wrestle anymore? Is it, is it too difficult? It's I know it's a lot to speculate, but
yeah.
Awful.
I know I don't have the kind of controls or anything, but just kind of like having a look through while you're talking there and seeing the people that are talking about him. The Rock's tweeted out.
Okay.
He said, "I'm heartbroken over the news of Bray Wyatt's passing. Always had tremendous respect and love for him and the Rotunda family. Loved his presence, promos, in-ring work, and connection with the WWE universe. Very unique, cool, and rare character, which is hard to create in our crazy world of pro wrestling. Still processing losing the GOAT, Terry Funk, yesterday, and now Bray today. My love, light, strength, and manner to the Rotunda family and Funk family during this tough, heartbreaking time. As always, thank you for the house. #Ohana."
A lovely tribute from The Rock there, and of course showing that they were in the ring together. Go back to WrestleMania, that incredible moment where The Rock decided to have a 20-second match against Eric Rowan, right? It was Rowan that he faced off against, wasn't it? So, man, what a moment that was. And again, this is why we're in it, guys. This is why we're wrestling fans. This is why we cover it as wrestling media as well, because, these kind of moments here. I mean, how many has Bray had? That's one we talked about our favorite Bray moments earlier, and not one of us came up with, do you remember the time when he faced off against The Rock in the height of the Wyatt family? It's, there are so many good ones. I see a lot of people joining us live now. Would love to hear your comments on your favorite Bray moments as well. And if anyone does see any tweets that we haven't quite got to, let us know in the chat, and we'll try and bring them up for everyone else on the stream here as well.
This is also, remember, this is a guy, by the way, that had the absolute stones to turn Vince McMahon into a puppet. Like there's very few people who could do that and get away with it and pull it off so well. And also, like, he just kind of like that whole Muscle Man dance stuff was a direct shot at being told by Vince that he was too big and needs to lose weight. And that whole character of I'm trying to remember what the pig's, is it Huskus, the pig?
Oh yeah.
And that and that was one of his kind of alter egos that Vince had kind of like said he needed to. So like he would take the kind of knocks and things like that and then turn it into creativity. I've seen, it's not a tweet, but Alexa Bliss has actually expanded a little bit on Instagram in her tribute, where she said, "I'm just in shock, extremely heartbroken and at a loss for words. What can I say is what an amazing human being Windham is, amazing friend and one of the most creative minds to ever walk this earth. Windham, you've brought so much joy and happiness to everyone around you. It's going to take me some time to really process this. Sending my love to the Rotunda family and JoJo. We love you, Windham." Of course, JoJo, who people all know as being one of the announcers. She was also on Breaking Ground, I think, that documentary, if you go back and watch.
Fantastic documentary, by the way. I know we're not here to give things, but that was incredible.
So obviously our thoughts and love goes out to JoJo and Bray's kids as well. As we said, he's leaving behind 4 kids, survived by 4 kids. It's at 36. You've seen some like great things already. Sean Ross Sapp said on his stream that he's getting some, people were kind of sending donations through, and he's promised to match that Fightful, which is a great thing to do and kind of send on to the family as well. Again, just one of those sides where it's really nice to see the wrestling community come together and do something like that.
You speak perfectly there, mate, into this little segue of wrestling community coming together. And we kind of talked about earlier on this possibility of what we'd see from other companies. And here we see Impact Wrestling, very, very classy of the guys at Impact here, to tweet about the sad loss here of Windham Rotunda, saying, "We are heartbroken To learn of the tragic passing of Windham Rotunda, better known as Bray Wyatt, we offer our deepest condolences and prayers to the Rotunda family. Out of respect, we will not be live tweeting Impact tonight during the broadcast. So a big kind of statement there, and of course not something they have to do. Windham never, to my knowledge, worked with TNA or Impact, I should say, in any way, but of course, as we say, a lot of these guys move on to other companies, and even if they haven't met each other, just like I haven't spent much time with Bray or anything like that. It's affected me, and of course it affects those that are in a similar field, and as we say, a lot of these friends and colleagues, I'm sure, now work in Impact Wrestling as well, so it's nice to see them kind of honor Bray in that way as well. Again, guys, in the comments, please let us know your memories of Bray, your reactions to this horrible news. Just to reiterate, sadly, Bray Wyatt has passed away at age 36. An incredible loss to the wrestling community. A wrestler I honestly think has been one of the most important wrestlers of the modern era. I know it's easy to kind of say that sort of stuff when someone passes away. Is this band suddenly big because the singer died when they were young, they were just their first album come out, whatever it may be? Bray Wyatt is not one of those characters. Bray Wyatt is a person and a wrestler who would have gone down in history regardless of this devastating news at the young age of 36 as one of the best to do it, especially character-wise. I think we talked earlier on about, this kind of feeling of a passing of the torch of the Undertaker and how these kind of characters aren't really in wrestling anymore. You can only get away with it for so long with a certain type of character. And Bray just kept reinventing, and the way that the Fiend was nothing like cult leader Bray is crazy. And again, this kind of new version, we didn't really know what we were getting with that, and that is one of the great tragedies here. Nowhere near the actual tragedy of ultimately a man losing his life at a tender age, but just selfishly as a wrestling fan, Andy, it's tough, isn't it, to kind of look back to that incredible return and just remember how excited we were, like we knew what it was. Like we were all like, it's gotta be Bray, right? It's gotta be Bray. Yeah. And it was, and I'm so glad we got that moment. And again, we've touched on it already tonight. We've touched on it throughout the year on this channel and various other friends' channels as well. But it didn't go the way we expected, and we'll never really know why, it seems. But that moment, I mean, that's why I'm in wrestling. Like, that's why I'm a fan of this whole wacky world of pro wrestling.
Yeah, man. Like, just like each and every kind of persona that he took on was like a new sort of layer in his brain that we got to kind of like peel back and have a look at. And Husky Harris, like we saw that whole like the Nexus and stuff was cool, but never really got to know him because he was just like one of a body of people. And then we kind of saw in NXT, you'd see that real like swamp cult leader. From a personal perspective, like I wrote for my creative writing in my degree in journalism, we had to do it like some short stories, and I wrote like the opening to what I hopefully even now one day I would turn into a book. And it was very heavily influenced by that character of being like a charismatic cult leader that kind of lives in the swamps and people follow because he's just got this kind of like aura and presence around him, but he's very creepy about it as well. But even that, like he kind of lifted his inspiration. You can see it in things like Robert De Niro's performance in Cape Fear. Like he took little bits and pieces and then made them like so much like bigger. So seeing that character, I know it was mentioned, I think he said, was it by Lucas earlier on, where he said about the Eater of Worlds. Man, that WrestleMania, he came back, didn't he, to help Matt? Was it Matt Hardy came back, or he came back and they helped each of them?
Oh, I think we might have had Andy freeze there, unless it's me that's frozen. I think it's Andy. All right, so some great memories there, of course, that Andy's sharing as well. We'll just kind of let's drop Andy outside just for now. Until that gets sorted. But yeah, some great memories there as well. I'm just going to bring up some more of these tweets and some of these as you can imagine, just really heartbreaking to see when you think about the people that this is impacting directly. We've got a tweet here from Santos Escobar. Just says, he says, this can't be true. No. And that's when it really hits you guys. You know, this is a friend kind of reaching out here and kind of just putting out into the space, just that, you know, immense pain and kind of hurt and denial that you go straight into when you've lost a loved one. And it's so raw and it's so emotional to see this. We've seen some of these beautiful tributes, and then you see something like this, and it really does cut you. I'm going to bring Andy back in now, but there we go. Andy, have you seen this Santos Escobar's tweet? I mean, from, you know, both of us had the pleasure of speaking to Santos recently for our respective channels, and such a lovely guy. And again, I was just saying, to see a tweet from someone like this, who I think, oh, what a nice dude. And I'm like, oh, now this guy's in pain because he's, you know, his colleague and presumably friend is passed away in this, you know, tragic circumstances, it seems.
Yeah. But yeah, by the way, sorry about I mean, it wouldn't be talking about Bray unless something creepy happened.
Go on.
My computer literally, as I was mid-sentence, just I thought it'd blown up. Like there was just like an almighty noise, and I probably woke the rest of the house up, and then it just shut itself off and then started again.
Did you get the old what was the noise you
yeah.
that was what
noise you mean, yeah.
spooky screen. That would be yeah, even that going back to that.
I would have lost it, man.
I remember that I used to, my friend of the channel, Tom, as well, we used to a lot of our wrestling coverage on our Talking Beans podcast. And every time I'd go to visit him, and I'd be close to his house, and I'd be like, oh yeah, it would tweet like, you know, the whole Bray Wyatt family, we're here, like kind of like even simple stuff like that. He had so many cool kind of things about his character. But sorry, anyway, you cut off a little bit there, of course, with your little spooky computer situation. But you were talking about some of your memories again.
Yeah, that WrestleMania where he helped out Matt Hardy in the Battle Royale, I think it wasn't it, the Andre the Giant Battle Royale, when they came out, and the whole, like, I think it was New Orleans, and the whole place went absolutely nuts for it. And you know, it went down so well. And then we kind of saw that, and then we saw the almost Mr. Rogers style, like kids presenter that turned completely creepy into the Fiend. And then we were seeing something completely different. And I remember really vividly, these videos started popping up of people recording at house shows, the song by Jefferson Aeroplane, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot.
And then people being
that.
like, "Oh, what's this for?" And then eventually people were like, "It's got to be Bray." And then eventually they moved that onto TV, and like things were happening. And then they did the whole like QR codes, and even to this day now, people see a QR code on something backstage at WWE, and they'll be like, "Oh, what's this for?" And you know, I was just thinking there while I was waiting for the computer to load up, when we talked about tributes earlier, man, I'm going to absolutely lose it if they do this. But if they just leave a lantern at the end of SmackDown in the middle of the ring, it will absolutely like destroy me. But it would be such a fitting tribute for him, because it's like, it's one of those things, isn't it, where just sticking a lantern, or have the rest of the roster come out with a lantern or something, would be insane. But
like I say, it'll hurt to see. But there are so many beautiful tributes that you could do to someone that had such an incredible, and we've said it throughout the stream here, incredible kind of creative mind, and so many kind of visual aspects to that you know, you talked earlier on about the influence of Cape Fear, but even down to like the influence of like Slipknot masks, and you know, get the same guy to make his mask and stuff like that. I think the guy just kind of had no kind of creative end, it seems. It was just you know, moving on to the next all the time, and sometimes that's frustrating, because I liked when they went back to the early Bray stuff with Braun, because I was like, yeah, we could see more of this. And I like the fact that these characters, because kind of like the Three Faces of Foley, that they could hop around, and it was never truly gone, because there's something, you know, I'm the kind of kid that, you know, I always wanted that DX reunion. I always want someone to go back to what they used to be, and how I first kind of fell in love with a character. But Bray was one of those who could hop around these different versions of himself. A few comments here from Kathy. He says, how he passed, oh well, no. and how, once again, Kathy, unfortunately, we don't know at the moment, and it's not something we really want to speculate at this very moment in time. As Triple H's statement earlier on alluded to, got the news from his father and basically asked for kind of space and kind of respect and peace really at this time. So we're going to try and honor that here. Of course, in the coming days, I'm sure when they're ready, we will find out some more. It's been a strange year for Bray Wyatt news. Won't go into things too much here because, again, we don't want to speculate. But of course, he hasn't been around for a while. But it did say unexpected that he passed away today as well. And just getting back to some more tweets from his peers here, we can see Fred Rosser, of course, formerly Darren Young, saying, "No man ever hugged me as tight as Windham did whenever we saw each other. I am completely devastated, heartbroken." I think there's 2 tweets we've seen now about hugs, and sounds like he was quite a hugger, which is nice as well. I feel like Bray's going to be one of those guys, Andy, that we're going to get the kind of the Owen Hart, Brody Lee type treatment where they're just going to be people outpouring of like, this was just a good dude.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. But there's certain people that you hear nothing but good things about, and I mean that, like Biggie is one of those people, and that's why you hear stuff from people when Brody passed, how heartbroken he was and how close he was to the family as well, and how much he helped, and and it'll be interesting to see. And let's not forget, he is second or third generation as well in the rest of the industry, so he's got his whole the history of that family as well, and it's just so sad to see as well. So sorry, there's always going to be some people that are just kind of a bit idiotic at this time as well, and it's just really easy to kind of ignore them and just concentrate on the happy memories and stuff.
Sorry to kind of cut in there, but there's the official cause of death has been put out there by Sean Ross Sapp, and he's saying he's got permission to do this. So with that in mind, and full kind of credit, which is an awkward thing to say for a terrible news story, of course, goes to Sean Ross Sapp here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up Sean's tweet. I'm sure you know Sean Ross Sapp is already big guy in the game of wrestling media, but let's share the tweet. So sadly, this is apparently the cause of death. Sean Rassap says, just 8 minutes ago, I was given permission to reveal that earlier in the year when the Rotunda Bray Wyatt got COVID that exacerbated a heart issue. There was a lot of positive progress towards a return and his recovery. Unfortunately, today he suffered a heart attack and passed away. He says, I encourage those reading to respect the family's privacy if at all possible, but his loved ones wanted some details clarified. Okay, so we speculated on it a moment ago whether or not we would find out the cause of death and how soon that might be. And it sounds like because of all the speculation going around already, we're getting some sort of details just to kind of put things to bed as far as rumors go. Wallbanger G says, what in all caps? I know, a very shocking situation. I got choked up reading that, Andy. That's it's heartbreaking. It doesn't change the fact that he's already gone, but just reading the details of it is painful, and it's a horrific reminder that we've gone through a scary, surreal time in our lives the past few years, and we're not here to get into ridiculous conspiracies or anything like that. So I will say now, you are not welcome with that kind of chat, but it is a real reminder that COVID is very much still an issue. I didn't expect that. I think a year or two ago, I think anytime someone in the kind of, big wide world of fame passed away, the question of was it COVID related was coming up, and we haven't really had that in a while because, let's be honest, mate, it doesn't feel like it's a thing anymore. People don't test anymore. When they feel rough, they think, I might just have a cold. And we've got back to normal thanks to a lot of the progress that we've made in this world as far as dealing with it. But it doesn't take away the fact that it was absolutely horrific, and there are still going to be these chances that somebody is going to seriously suffer from this horrible condition, and especially if it links up with something, as we heard very often in the early days of COVID as well, if it links with something that already exists as well. And yeah, hearing that it was heart issues, and this does tie in with what we were talking about earlier on, doesn't it, Andy? About, we heard these rumors that something was keeping him away and he could have died. Apparently, we heard this a few months ago, and I remember thinking then, wow, what is it like? And I think you kind of go to, and especially because of like leukemia with Roman and stuff like that, you sometimes think, is it cancer? But the thought of COVID is kind of like, I did think it at first when he was gone for a little bit, but it is shocking to hear that he's literally been fighting with the effects of that for such a long time, and now at 36 years old had a heart attack and passed away.
Yeah, I mean, that last sentence is the kind of the real one that digs in, isn't it? It's like 36 and having a heart attack. Like, whatever your viewpoints and beliefs are around COVID and vaccinations, etc., like it doesn't matter. It's all about, you know, we've lost someone to something that a lot of people, as you say, probably feel like we're out of the worst of it, which may be true. Yeah, it might be true in the sense of the numbers aren't as high as they were back in 2020, 2021 in terms of people losing their life, but it shows you that we still need to be guarded on this kind of thing, and it is a stark reminder of that in the absolute worst way possible. I think Sean Ross Sapp, this will have been very difficult for him. I would imagine the reason why he's got this kind of information is because he's done that very gracious thing of saying they'll match the kind of donations to the family, which is probably why he's been granted this kind of information. So certainly, I hope the comments aren't kind of like going in on him at all. Like he's delivering some news because people will be searching for the truth and searching for details. And I think the family's done the right thing is to give enough detail, but they don't have to give too much more. I'm sure in the future we'll probably see sit-down interviews with the likes of Bo Dallas or possibly even with JoJo on some sort of platform. Probably not WWE because that's not the business that they're in. I'm sure there's like, you know, News Tonight or whatever in they'll be covering this. The likes of TMZ will be covering this in America. At the end of the day, it's a 36-year-old man with a family has lost his life due to COVID conditions and side effects, etc. So we just, you know, don't lose focus on the fact that yes, we know what it is, and it, in some respects, it probably makes it even more heartbreaking as well. If anything, hopefully, that can come from this is a reminder that we're not away from this, and it's going to take a while for the side effects and the feelings and things from COVID to completely disappear if they ever do.
I mean, yeah, you make a great point there as well, even the fact that this is probably going to show up on these main websites, as they would, I think, with WWE Superstar dying anyway. But as you say, this is a stark reminder. I think if a basketball player popped up and it was like, and someone I didn't really know or something like that, and it was like, and I think I'd read it and go, man, I can't believe that's still kind of happening. And again, even someone like me is saying, look, guys, it's still around. We've got to be careful. Even myself, I think, because just say like we've had so much progress in it, but it doesn't take away the fact that this was such a devastating thing. And again, I don't want to just go too deep on the whole kind of situation here of you know, COVID itself, but sadly that is seemingly at the root of this horrible situation. 000 says heart attack, side effects of coronavirus. Yeah, that's it. Of course, the coronavirus, COVID-19 seems to be the root of all this. And it does make sense again, doesn't it, Andy, as to why he was away for so long. Why he was away for a bit and they could never quite tell when he was coming back, and there'd been progress and he's been dealing with this and this. It'd be interesting to go back and read the kind of wording of the reports. I do wonder those that were reporting maybe knew what the issue might have been for time, and of course out of respect haven't reported on it, because I'm sure there would have been people that did know he had been dealing with the effects of COVID and these kind of heart issues that came from it. But that kind of ties in with making both things true, as we said earlier on as well, with the kind of thinking of, we were aware that he had an issue for a few months. We were aware, the reports came out that he was life-threatening at one point, and at the same time unexpected, because these two things kind of sadly coming together at once, and one made worse by another as well. It's a tough stream to be doing, guys, and we've kind of gone down a little bit of a dip again, seeing as we've found out the cause of death now. But I do want to encourage you as well to send in your well wishes, of course, to family and friends, but also let us know your memories of Bray and your positive kind of times, really, as a Bray Wyatt fan, as a wrestling fan. Even if you weren't massively into Bray, even if Bray weren't your favorite, would love to hear what it was about Bray you did like, what parts of matches and storylines you did enjoy from Bray's career. Because as we touched on earlier on, there was kind of something for everyone. Well, in a certain realm of wrestling fan, at least. If you like character driven and kind of spooky stuff, man, Bray could give you. You can make several movie franchises out of Bray Wyatt characters. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was that good, and those characters were that kind of exciting to watch as well. Right.
Just seen that PW Insider are reporting that WWE are in the process of setting up their website to reflect that going forward, money raised from Bray Wyatt merchandise will go directly to his family.
Okay, that's great to hear.
If true, that's a nice touch by WWE there as well. So obviously, it's such a sudden thing that they'll be moving in whatever kind of way that they can. But yeah, I don't know if you want to find it. Maybe Mick Foley 3 minutes ago has just tweeted out a nice tribute as well.
Okay, yeah, I'll have a look for that. I just did find one from Amanda Huber, of course, wife, now widow, sadly, of Brody Lee. But Amanda Huber says, "I have no words. I'm devastated," and just share some pictures of not only Brody / Harper with Bray, but also the Wyatt family as a whole. And I just want to bring some of these up, actually, because they are, especially this one here. It's a lovely picture. That is the kind of it doesn't paint the picture of the Wyatt family we saw on screen, does it, Andy? But it's a beautiful one nonetheless as well. And of course, some more pictures which I'm sure are courtesy of WWE as far as copyright goes, but I'm sure they're understanding there as well that we are just sharing a lovely tweet there. Mick Foley, did you say, was the other one?
Yes, yeah. Because obviously Mick Foley had that bit in the ring with the Fiend where he was put on the mandible claw.
They've
got they've shared screen time together. And this is one of those things. There's so many people that is just going to kind of randomly pop up. You go, oh yeah, he did that with that. And
exactly.
Like he was in the ring with The Rock, and he's been in the ring with John Cena, and people like Mick Foley, and crazy.
Yeah. So this is the Foley one here. As you say, you see these pictures and you're like, oh yeah. Rest in peace, Bray Wyatt. This is awful news. It says, just terribly sad for his family, friends, and fans. I thought so highly of Bray Wyatt and was so flattered when he started using the mandible claw for his finisher. He was a true visionary, one of the most compelling presences that wrestling has ever seen. Some high praise there coming from a man. We mentioned him earlier on, the Three Faces of Foley. I mean, if there's a man who knows a great character, it is Mick Foley. And of course, we mentioned similarities of Undertaker characters earlier on, but there certainly is a nice little crossover point between the Faces of Foley and the Faces of Windham Rotunda as well. Of course, we've touched on it earlier on as well. This has shocked the wrestling world to its core at a time when we've just been shocked with the news of Terry Funk passing away. And of course, someone who's been hit hard by that will be very close friends, Mick Foley. So for Foley and guys like that, who I'm sure Foley was way closer to Funk than he ever was Bray. And then you've got people on the opposite side, maybe someone like Owens, who was probably way closer to Bray, I would imagine, being a contemporary kind of, colleague, but then also very much looking up to Funk and idolizing him and mentioning those moments shared earlier on in his career as well. You look at, again, from any side of the wrestling industry at the moment, whether you're young or old or veteran or have just got in the game at the PC, you're going to be affected by this. You're going to be around people who are massively shaken up by this week's news, not only of Terry Funk sadly passing away, but now also the heartbreaking news that at age 36 years old, the great Bray Wyatt has passed away due to complications, it would seem, stemming from COVID-19 that sadly led to a heart attack earlier today as well. It's surreal. It really is. I know we're kind of going around in circles. And again, I thank you all so much that's joined us live or on demand. We'd love to hear your kind of memories and thoughts on Bray Wyatt, and forgive us for, and I'm sure you understand the somber tone, but also, if we're kind of treading over old ground and repeating ourselves and kind of forgetting facts and who wrestled when did this moment happen. I'm sure you can understand this is a moment that's shaken us to our core. I've just seen as well, Joe Gacy tweeted out, I have no words. Joe Gacy, of course, someone else that was rumored to be part of this kind of Wyatt Six. Were we ever going to get that stable? Was it ever actually going to be a thing? It's sad, and I can't wait to hear the stories, because I think that's the thing. There will be things that we never really find out about. We might not hear what Undertaker said to him at Raw 30. We might not really know all the ins and outs, especially if there were any kind of negative things as far as friction between creative or anything like that. But I would love to hear, and it's going to be hard to hear it. Don't get me wrong. It's going to feel like a real shame, but I would love to hear details on what they would have done. It almost will feel like Bray is kind of living on through that. If we can get this kind of fantasy view of, this was the plan. And again, it will have a sting to it to be like, we didn't get that. But at the same time, I would be interested to hear what the creative plans were, because I think his story deserves to be told, even if it's not on the screen. It would be nice, is it the kind of thing WWE can turn into a comic or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, is that's quite befitting of Bray because of how creative he is, and if they are kind of setting things up in place to look after his family now that he's passed, that is the sort of stuff. He's like, can he do a graphic novel that would have explained a little bit more, and then those proceeds go there? And I'm sure they've got artists who would love to kind of delve into that creativity that he leaves behind and kind of started. And I remember speaking to, as you said, a good friend of the show, Dom, who is a huge fan of Bray, and always will be as well. And he, week after week, would be saying like, "Oh, I can't wait to, he's coming back. He's going to come back this week, and he's going to come back this week." And he kind of like held out hope that it would happen. And just seeing like Dom's a great example of someone who, he was telling me literally just a couple of days ago on the phone, he needs someone like that to get him into wrestling, because he really kind of latched on, and like it sparked his love of wrestling again. And that's the kind of effect that he's had on fans. And as you said earlier on, I think, is it called like Abby's Window or something like that? I think they do, where it's just a podcast or a YouTube stream that's solely about Bray. I can only imagine what those guys are kind of feeling at the moment, and people who have spoke to him, etc. So, his effect is going to be it's so profound, and as you say, it's difficult to kind of fully express yourself. Like in the UK, it's 1:30. This news broke here just before midnight, I think it was, like probably just minutes before midnight. So, Scott's scrambled to get this together to hopefully give people a place to reflect and remember some of the great moments that Bray's given us.
Yeah, let's get to a quick comment here, just because I want to address Dan saying life isn't fair. Look, Dan, I know it can feel like that at times. And it doesn't feel fair, does it? A man losing his life at 36, and people losing a friend and a family member at this time as well. But I just want to say, anyone that is struggling with this news today, as you say, there are a lot of wrestling fans, no matter your kind of fandom for Bray, whether you were kind of one of those mega fans or just a WWE fan who enjoyed his work. However this hits you, talk about it, talk to your friends, your family, and put your comments here on the podcast to two random Brits who just want to kind of appreciate the life and career of Bray Wyatt. Just before we do start wrapping up, because as Andy said, it is 1:38 in the morning here now, and I'll probably stay in bed for an hour staring at my phone if I'm honest, Andy, but I appreciate that I've kept you for a bit of time as well. But just want to get to a few of these tweets before we wrap up as well. Dan says super bum for his kids. Yeah, we were talking about earlier on, Dan, and thanks for joining us, mate. But four children now, sadly. That is one of the biggest factors in this news being so heartbreaking, is 4 children now without their father around. But great news if you can say that at a time like this. But as Andy mentioned earlier on, being reported by PW Insider, was it? That WWE.com are apparently about to get the wheels in motion for all Bray merchandise to go directly to his family. And that's a lovely gesture there. And we can only imagine the tributes that are going to come in the coming days, and particularly on SmackDown for Bray Wyatt. But let's just get back to some of these tweets here as well. A great example of what we were talking about earlier on, how this rocks the wrestling community to people. You start thinking, did they ever cross paths, whether even working or just maybe backstage or at a bar, or, because they met up with one friend who's now in this company. We've got a great example here of Taz, who says, very sorry to hear of Bray Wyatt's passing. It's very sad. Unfortunately, I never got to know this man, but watching him perform, you can instantly tell he was extremely talented and creative. And more importantly, hearing how great of a person he was. My condolences to his family. R.I.P. Bray. We also had one right underneath this that I felt was worth bringing up as well, from a man who no doubt spent plenty of time with Bray Wyatt, and that's Baron Corbin, saying, I'm trying to process this and can't. Windham was a friend. I feel for his wife, his beautiful children, his parents, his brother, his sister, and everyone else who knew what incredible person he was. And that kind of highlights a great point there. Of course, I read the word brother earlier on and jumped to Bo Dallas, not really even knowing Bray had his sister. And this is the thing, it's easy to jump to these colleagues and the family members that have been in the limelight as well. But then you think about, there are so many people going to be impacted by this loss. His school friends, like people that have nothing to do with wrestling. Anytime you go through a loss like this, it's heartbreaking. Just the amount of people, but incredible as well, the amount of people this would touch. So Dan says here, don't talk about how he passed away, not our business, guys. I appreciate that, Dan, and we spent our first hour kind of staying away from that news. But I don't know if you've seen, but recently Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful has got permission from the family to explain what's happened here, and that's why the news is now out there. Of course, we don't want to speculate beyond that, but it has been made official. So therefore, we're just reporting, of course, what has been apparently given permission by the family to be out there as news, because they wanted to kind of get hold of this narrative before, I guess, it went wild with, as you can imagine, Dan, speculation online. But anyway, it's a tough one to sign off from, guys. It's a tough stream to do. We're over an hour in, but I do hope that this is kind of giving some people somewhat of an outlet, whether you've commented or you haven't commented, you've watched in the background, or you're going to be picking this up in the morning when you wake up to some devastating news. We do appreciate everyone that's joined us, and I want to say thank you so much for joining in on the stream, whether this is your first time here or you've been a subscriber for a while. We do appreciate all your support, and I'm sure Bray's family, friends, and colleagues will appreciate the support. So please send it their way. Send your well wishes however you can online, and of course, thoughts and prayers do go out to the family, the Rotunda family, at this difficult time. And just as we sign off, I'm saying thank you to the guests and things like that the people commenting here. And of course, I want to say a big thank you to Andy for joining me as my special guest, but also just a big thank you to Windham Rotunda, man. Like a big thank you to Bray Wyatt, however you want to refer to him, the Fiend, the Eater of Worlds. You were an incredible performer. Sadly, it seems like I've missed out on the honor to meet you as a man and get to know you like so many did in the wrestling business. But I just want to say, as a wrestling fan, just thank you so much for giving me so many happy moments, and I'm glad that we can, being podcasters, we can go back and watch our instant reactions to things like your incredible return just a while ago. And but ultimately, man, I just want to say thank you so much for being a great performer and making me fucking love wrestling. Like you're the kind of thing I'm in this for. So yeah, thanks for that. Any final thoughts from you, Andy?
I mean, I think you said it so well there, is just saying thank you to the man himself. I never know, at these times of what people believe in or what you believe in, etc. But like if it goes to him and in whatever capacity and whether his family see it, but yeah, thank you to Windham, to Bray Wyatt. But it was an absolute honor to see some of the things and like just sparking, new life in creativity and setting that bar so high for creativity. And, I remember watching wrestling back in the Attitude Era, and you'd see vignettes and you'd think, oh, I wonder who that's going to be, because they'll say like coming next week or whatever. And really like throw me back to that era when all the White Rabbit stuff was going on was really cool. And no one has done anything like that since. It's not been that long, but I think it'll be a while till anyone kind of replicate that. Seeing and hearing that pop at Extreme Rules when that door was opened and he came through. It's one of those ones that I know I'm going to go back up to bed and lie there and probably watch a few moments, and I'll probably watch that Cena match from WrestleMania 36. I'll probably watch that return at Extreme Rules, that promo that he did on SmackDown, where he just said, "This is me. I'm not a character," and like it feels even more poignant this time. So
yeah,
there's so many things to go back and watch. And for myself, I'll probably do a stream. I was planning on doing one tomorrow night about AEW and their big weekends, but it feels as much as a big weekend as it is, it feels like I'll cover off some of the best moments of Bray Wyatt's career in WWE. So I would love to see people across on Wrestling Royalty come and join me, come and have a bit of a chat about those moments and see if there's any that I missed out, and let me know. In the way that wrestling communities will always let you know if you miss something that's very special out as well. But yeah, just as you said, big thanks to the guy himself, and just really, really sad news to have to go to bed with.
Definitely, mate. It's going to be a challenge to get to sleep, but hey, we can have comfort in the fact that he's brought us a lot of joy over the years, and I think his legacy will live on. We talk about the creativity and things like that and what we might see on SmackDown and shows going forward, but also you got to remember the guys that he would have inspired. There are kind of, mini Bray Wyatts kind of working their way through wrestling school at the moment, or in actual school, not quite got to wrestling school just yet, and incredibly inspired by the work of Bray Wyatt. And I'm sure we're going to be seeing the effects of that incredible performer for decades to come, as you do when you get this kind of once in a generation type talent as we've had with Bray Wyatt. Before we get out of here, just want to get to Joe's message, who says, "I'm new to the channel." Joe, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you joining us on this difficult night. Would love to see you guys back here in the future. It doesn't feel the right kind of time to plug everything we do, but you know how YouTube works. But ultimately, I want to say thank you everyone that's joined us. Thank you once again to Andy. I will plug his stuff though, because Wrestling Royalty is the place to be tomorrow night if you want to kind of reminisce and talk more Bray Wyatt, as he said. We'll leave the
best way you could possibly finish this is load up the Miz, is just put a tribute out, which probably sums up everything that we've said tonight would be the best way to end it.
The Miz, did you say?
Yeah, the Miz.
All right, let's get to it. Okay. All right. So, do you want to read away, Andy?
Yeah. So the Miz, who's kind of obviously put a couple of pictures on there of himself with Bray Wyatt, said the world lost a good one today. Bray Wyatt's storytelling ability, along with his unique creativity in the ring, was a force that kept our eyes glued to the television screen. Windham Rotunda's fun-loving, free spirit, paired with his infectious laugh, is what I will truly miss the most. My thoughts and prayers go out to the Rotunda family. Rest well, my friends. I don't think I've seen a tweet that quite summarises as well as the Miz put out there. So a very fitting tribute.
That's it. Yeah, beautiful tribute. Great there from the Miz. And yeah, on that note, we'll wrap up. Thank you, everyone that's joined us. And once again, thank you so much to Bray Wyatt for all you brought us, wrestling fans. Till the next time.